I train an AI that knows how to translate from English to German, then can I take that same AI and teach it how to answer questions about Wikipedia articles? So I'd probably stroll in around 10. I would stay until 11, 12. The second paper was more controversial. It was picked up, I would say, like by the really talented researchers at OpenAI.
每课灵魂都很有趣，每一种职业都很出彩。这里是牛油话筒，今天我们请到的是 Bryan。
Hi, I'm Bryan. I'm the co-founder and CTO at U.com. Before this, I was a research scientist in AI, working on neural networks, large language models, and amongst other things at Salesforce. I've been in the Bay Area about 14 years now.
Okay, can you tell us a little more about your role at Salesforce?
Yeah, role at Salesforce was a research scientist role. I started out working as an individual researcher, publishing papers and influencing the academic community. Try to get AI to understand human language.
So what is the day-to-day like working in research?
So I spent 4 years doing research. I'd say every year was quite different. So the first year I would read a bunch of papers that were really important for our field in natural language processing, computer vision, so understanding images, videos, and text. And then I would spend most of the day writing code that defined experiments. The experiments themselves would be things like, if I train an AI that knows how to translate from English to German, then can I take that same AI and teach it how to answer questions about Wikipedia articles? So I'd write up these experiments, design the neural networks, and I would try to queue them up so that overnight they would run on the machines, and then I could come back in the morning and check the results and do it all over again.
Okay, so that's your first 2 years working in the research. What about and then afterwards?
Yeah, so after those first couple years, I wanted to prioritize working with other people and publishing a lot of ideas based on these language models getting so much better. And that set me up for the fourth year when I became a lead research scientist. I started leading others and had my own team.
At all the level that you mentioned, or even the head of your department, they all have to do their own research and publish something every year, right?
Everyone is publishing. There's kind of like a PI, like the lead research person that's responsible for the whole org. At Salesforce, by the time I was leaving, there were several leads in different areas. And then each lead would have a combination of senior researchers and kind of entry-level or mid-career researchers. And together, we're all publishing all the time. But it's not like the PI is writing code all the time. They're more checking in on projects, making sure they're going well, guiding them at a higher level. When I was a lead researcher, I was still coding to some extent, but I was also just spending a lot of time helping my senior researchers and entry-level researchers improve their experimental processes, helping them develop the methodology around how to do good research. And then we would be thought partners in coming up with what's the right next experiment to run.
So even though probably the PI is not really coding or doing the experiments, but their names are still gonna be on the report.
Yep. And then the PI is usually the last person on the paper. And so you can kind of quickly glance and see who ran most of the experiments and whose lab are they part of. And those two things.
Who's a reviewer? How does it work?
Basically works like you write your paper, which is summarizing all the experiments you've done. And you submit it to a conference. Most of the time, the standard is a double-blind review. So you're assigned 3 reviewers, which are other researchers, ideally in your field, so they can understand to some extent what you're doing. And they don't know who you are, and you don't know who they are. So no one knows who anyone is, and you can just review the work for what it is. So they read it, they basically give you a score of how good they think the work is on various dimensions. Then at the end of the day, someone gets to look at the reviews behind the scenes at the conference. They're called like a meta reviewer, and they get to recommend it for publication or not. Google, Meta, a lot of these big industry labs, it was considered a really long-term investment. And you're placing bets and investing in different directions that you hope could potentially work one day, but there's no real expectation. Like the timelines are just much longer.